Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Dr. Joe Show.
Applause, applause, applause. Wild applause, wild applause.
Thomas McCoy, was that too loud for your sensitive ears? I saw you take your earphones off.
Well, mind you, no earphones for you guys. Earphones here. Be careful. Got my tender little eardrums.
Yes.
I am prone to swimmer's ear.
Yes. Well,
You need to be cautious with those swimmer's ears. Hey, we have an incredible encore guest tonight. You may see him there in your screen. Tom Hull is one of our vice presidents at Riverside Community Care for our remarkable, one of our most remarkable divisions. We have a lot of remarkable divisions, but these folks are working with people who have traumatic brain conditions and developmental conditions. And how's it going over there, Tom?
Well, it's actually quite remarkable, the amount of really heroic work that the staff are doing. And thus far, we have very limited situations going on. We have one individual and one staff person who are out of the programs. We have 30 programs with 113 different individuals that we care for, and some 82 of them have predispositions for the virus, like being over 60 or having co-occurring conditions like diabetes or autoimmune. But I'm telling you, metaphorically, the staff are lined up around the block to come help. The personal protective equipment is coming out in a good way right now that can help us right at the right time that we need it.
Yeah.
And so it's really, and these are 30 congregate settings where, unlike a domestic setting where they say, okay, Tom, you're infected, you and your wife have to stay home. Well, that's really not quite an option when you have 5 individuals with at least 3 staff that have to rotate across 3 shifts. And what do you do? And how do you keep them safe and not transmitting the virus home and keeping the individuals safe? So it's really remarkable what's going on.
Yeah.
Dr. Joe, can I interrupt here? Can I thank you and all the healthcare providers out there for their noble service right now? I mean, we say that to the soldiers, and God bless our soldiers as well. But these healthcare providers, when people are talking on the front line, I mean, that is no joke. These folks are running to the fire. And I want to thank you all out there who are helping us stay safe like that.
Yeah, I echo that 1,000,000+ times. You're absolutely right, Mark.
Well, you too, Dr. Joe. I mean, you're keeping people mentally sane right now when very normally sane, balanced people are melting. So the folks that are already struggling with mental health issues need you more than ever right now, my man.
And I really feel for people just coming out of like med school being like, this is going to be a good job, good pay, plenty of hours. Now they're being, you're being thanked for your sacrifice. I'm like, dude, I didn't see this coming. It is weird. It's got to feel weird just being caught in that out of nowhere.
Yeah. I mean, it's true. Waivers have been made for 4th-year medical students so they can be acting as if they are full-fledged physicians, because we need to manage a potential shortage. Wow. And the other, there are a lot of things that are going to be coming down, waivers, so that we can continue to provide care in the horrible possibility that the licensed certified people won't be there to do it. But hopefully
it makes sense. I mean, you're seeing all the similarities where, World War II, everybody got together and started building and helping and manufacturing. And here we're seeing very similar behaviors is in a wartime situation where, we need, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they start drafting medical people into the force now.
I honestly don't think that they'll need to draft anyone. I think
what I mean.
No, but I think
people are volunteering, people are stepping up and coming forward. But
Right.
this is pulling a lot of people who lead with their heart forward, which is amazing.
No, and I agree with you, Mike. But the word here is important because we don't have to force anyone to come
Right.
in and work. They are volunteering. Look what's happening in New York. Tens of thousands of people volunteering to come out of their retirement so that they can help. And Tom Hall and I, we were talking a little bit, all of us, about the altruism that's happening right now. Do you want to talk about that? About just the desire to help other people, just because it's the right thing to do in a time of need.
Absolutely. And last time I was on, I was proposing this theory of how things that are unfinished in our lives that just don't make sense, that they're not completed. And it's supported by some really cool research from, back in 1927, how that leads to anxiety, whether it's something as mild as somebody cutting you off in traffic or some other event that's coming or going to happen to you. But this is so gradual and invisible and insidious. And how I think it's different than World War II because you could build a bunker, you could build some more battleships, and it was war against war. And in this circumstance, there's really nothing other than right now, stay away from others and wash your hands. And now you can't go to work necessarily. It's very, very different. And I had shown, I don't know if this will show up on the screen, I had downloaded this Abraham Maslow's diagram, if that does show up.
Yep, there it is.
Yeah.
Great.
So
Tell us about this.
Maslow's is one of the first humanist psychologists who identified that, just like with this triangle here, that in order for you to move up in your psychosocial well-being, you have to get the basics done. So if you look down here at the bottom, physiological needs, food, water, warmth, and rest. How many of us are having difficulty getting those things right now, including rest? And then the next tier being safety and security. That is certainly compromised. And this also leads to this incompleteness, I think, that people, and how this can lead to what we talked about last time, an increased anxiety, which is a precursor to fear, and what to do. And then you have belongingness and love needs in relationships. Well, you can't meet with more than 6 or 8 people out in public without getting fined, and you're asked to stay home. And then the top 2 tiers are really lofty when it comes to what's going on right now with everyone, because people are mostly having to wrestle with, and deal with the bottom 3 of those tiers. And so I think that's where I think some of the camaraderie comes with they call it the foxhole mentality, like when you're in war and you're suddenly doing very compassionate things that you otherwise might not do. I think that's a plus. That's where altruism comes in, because I don't have time to self-actualize, at the very top of that Maslow tier. I need to get the facts as much as I can, and there's so much obscure information going on about what to do. It seems to change every day at 6 o'clock. And so one of the things I think that helps this whole unfinished task thing is to get as much information as you can, even though there isn't much to be had other than, make sure you're washing your hands and following, letting this ride its course, while we do our best to affect the most important approaches, and then the other phase of that theory that I proposed last month was that you want to be cautious about leaning, as this progresses, whatever event it is, to an area of helplessness where you feel like you really can't do anything, and that could possibly lead to depression. And I think there's an opportunity to arrest and stop this progression through adequate information gathering, whether it's watching the correct graph about where things are going and how we're doing in a particular region, and understanding the information, and just understanding what these little critters are. Like, one of the things I was looking up today, that, for example, a virus, it's one of the tiniest cells. It's not even really a cell. It's not even alive or dead. It has no respiration, no locomotion, no capacity to eat or do anything. It's just a cell that can't even move.
It's not even a cell. It's not even a cell.
It's not even a cell.
More than a cell.
Right. So it has to be brought from somewhere. And they're so tiny. I read today that if you could make a virus the size of a tennis ball, a human being would be 500 miles tall. That's how tiny these things are. And they're blowing in the wind, you
Right.
know, and yeah.
Can you put that that Maslow's hierarchy back on? Because there is something about it that I do want to let people know about. Because, you know, as Tom Hall is saying, yes, there are these basic needs and the safety, and this is true. But I don't want people to think that these things are mutually exclusive.
Yeah.
I think that when we do something for somebody else, we are affecting that blue line, the esteem needs, the prestige and feeling of accomplishment.
Yeah.
You may not have enough toilet paper, but when you share the toilet paper you have met some of that self-actualization. You are doing things for others, because this is part of what Maslow was absolutely talking about. And yet I think sometimes people thought that if you didn't have the bottom two things, you couldn't achieve the top three. And the I am approach is saying, no, I don't think that's absolutely true. And we don't need to get into an academic discussion about this, but I want people to understand that yes, we need these bottom things. We need to have food, water, warmth, rest. We need security and safety. We need these things. But one way we can achieve them is by doing those other three things, by remaining faithful to others, by remaining altruistic, helping other people. That increases our sense of value, because when you remind someone of their value, you do something for them, you increase your own value. And I feel that is what we as human beings can do to reach that full potential, to be able to help somebody else during this time of crisis is perhaps one of the most important things that we have going for us as human beings. And we're seeing it over and over again. We're not just seeing it in the medical field. We are absolutely seeing it there. But what about all those people who cheer for those folks? What about all those people who come out of their houses to give a round of applause to that first responder who's getting in their car to go to the hospital?
I think
Well,
this
you know what? Go ahead, Tom.
I think this answers the question that I think people at the top of the pyramid find themselves asking is, now what? Now they have a greater cause that they can contribute to. And I think that's going to help a lot of people mentally. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know, the example I was just going to say too is you're hearing these stories of people quietly buying 100 pizzas for the people at the emergency room, and it's twofold, right? They're helping that small business, and they're recognizing those in the front lines, and they can quietly, charitably do this and feel really good, therefore bringing that back to their home domain, right?
Yes, exactly. And I must say, guys, just hearing these stories fills me with joy and optimism and hope. And hope. We can do this. We can do this. But let's get back to Tom Hall, because there is that sense of an incomplete task, of an uncertainty, because there is a virus out there. But folks, there have been viruses out there for millions of years. There's nothing particularly new about that. It's that this one is just so good at what it does. Yeah. I mean, its IM is like really profound. Yeah. You know, it's good.
You hear people comparing it to the flu, but you know, its per capita lethality is higher than that. You know, that's why it's got our attention. That's and the way you didn't watch maps of Ebola or even SARS or N1, virus. You didn't see those maps flooding across like they are, across the world. And that
I don't think anyone's calling it the flu anymore. I think that's a couple weeks.
That died in like mid-February.
Yeah, no, it definitely was in March. No,
there were holdouts
mid-March, the financial people were still poo-pooing it. But Tom Hall, I want to ask you a question. I know our show was one of the best shows I've ever been a part of when you were in studio last time talking about anxiety and the ability to check the boxes. And I'm a checkbox manifesto kind of person. So I know how good it feels to strike something off that list. But I know that this is a big box that people can't check, so it's making them anxious. Like I can't decide whether I want this to just hit me and get through it. How do I deal with it? But what do you recommend people do? Is there a subset of little boxes that they could check that will make them feel good about not being able to check this big box? Like, is there a strategy? I don't want to use the word tactic, but is there a...
Yeah, I think there are a few things that come from the last time we met and from Dr. Joe's book, in terms of having adequate theory of mind. This is a very vulnerable time for you to withdraw into yourself and become more primitive in terms of your self-protection. And whether it's altruism, that little dose of oxytocin that you get when you do something well for someone else, that lasts. And I've been talking to people about sleep and how it's one of the nutrients that we have that you just can't store up. People think that maybe if I sleep for 2 days, I'll have the energy to make it through next week. That is not the case. You have to have your 6 to 8 hours a night. Right. Whether you need a white noise machine, whether you need maybe sleeping in a place that's more quiet, that's really important. Those for your own health, because every night toxins wash out of your brain that are going to help you the next day. And I've been working with staff and just having these Zoom calls every day, every single day, and I can pick out the people who are just bedraggled and then later on I'll have a sidebar and they say, I'm not sleeping. They'll say, like some of my colleagues are saying, Bloom is keeping me awake. Bloom is Zygarnik. This incomplete thing. Delegating to others, being able to, like in my job, we're offering to unplug, whether you want to unplug for an hour or for a half a day or a day, literally, where you're not responsible and you can put your head on your pillow. The pragmatic things like I'm doing. Everyone's trying to do their fair share regarding hygiene and the like, and personal protection. And then, I think, mindfulness, meditation, all these things, going for a walk. It's beautiful. It was beautiful today. Why not?
And what do you say to the people who say, maybe I'll just sleep the next 2 days to make this go away?
Well, maybe Joe, you can speak to that, but that sort of, I think that may come hand in hand with more, again, you're trying to muster as much logic and rationale from the front part of the brain as you can, so that the primitive part doesn't say, okay, the heck with this, time to check out, whether it's sleep or substance use or whatever else. So that's why I think it's good. What I would recommend is that people sort of listen to a summarization of the news in the morning when you're more ready to go. You don't want to be sleeping necessarily, because unfortunately we all know the kind of ambiguity that has been happening at 6 o'clock and the like. So I think paying attention in the morning to the synthesis of the information is good. So it's more practical and I can get my arms around it. Like today was very practical. How to take a t-shirt and cut the sleeves off to make your own homemade mask and put a coffee filter or a paper towel in there. Boom. Very practical. Now I feel better. I've done something in checking off the box, So I
think that's a terrific suggestion, folks, is, if you want to listen to the news, do it first thing in the morning, get your day going. But I would not necessarily recommend you going to bed with that.
Yeah.
Because, we do absorb information. It's the same thing. How many folks have tried to put themselves to sleep by playing an exciting video game? I mean, it just doesn't work.
Right.
It doesn't work because our brains are not designed to do that. To answer your question, Mark, about people who say, well, I'll just sleep for 2 days and maybe it'll be gone. It's the classic psychiatry phrase. You've heard me say it. Denial is not just a river in Egypt. And this isn't something that we can deny. It's not something we need to deny. You see, the denial part implies that you don't think you're strong enough to manage the anxiety that goes along with this. But of course you're strong enough to manage it. What you think affects what you feel. If you don't think you can manage this, how do you think you're going to feel? Angry, anxious, and sad. And then you'll say, well, I'm just going to withdraw. I'm going to either fight someone and get my anger out, I'm going to flee, or I'm going to freeze. But we have 3 F's as a social animal. family, friendship, fellowship. Those 3 F's can overcome the fight, flight, freeze. And that's part of what we're talking about. There will be an incomplete task every day. But that's nothing new. It's just that it feels so much more like threatening. You know, we can do this. I'm not minimizing what's happening. And in the same way that we're giving the praise to the people who are on the front line, I want to feel the sorrow for those who've already lost people, because it is real. And that is horrible to have that silence. But there are still people there to support you, to care about that, to grieve, perhaps not in the same depth, but to recognize it and not dismiss it. No one is dismissing this. It's real. But we can come together to manage it, not just cope with it.
And Dr. Joe, back to one of the earlier episodes we started doing when this first happened is, if you're feeling anxious, go ease someone else's anxiety, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep. It's one of the best ways to manage your anxiety and manage your stress is to help somebody else with theirs. Because remember, at the bottom line, even though Maslow's hierarchy is saying that, we have these basic needs, I feel the basic need we have is to feel valued. And to feel valued, we can help somebody else feel valued. It's the silliest thing, isn't it? It seems so simple.
It is simple, but some of the most brilliant things are so simple, and that's it. And if we can get everybody to understand this, I think we'll get through this and come out so much stronger than we went in.
Mm-hmm. We really will. And that's part, to get back to Tom's division. Some of the folks there may not have the ability to really understand what's happening right now. And that's a remarkable challenge for all the staff in Tom's department to help them with, because they may be very angry they can't go outside, and what you do with that. We're seeing this with our adolescents as well, who are getting a little bit angry, a little bit more irritable, because they can't do the things that they used to be able to do. But they're adapting.
Right.
Yeah.
They're adapting. That's what's amazing.
It is.
Well, that was an awesome show.
Yeah.
20 minutes. 20
right.
seconds means what? So 20-minute chat, 20 seconds.
Washing your hands and taking that time to sort of meditate, to be in the moment, to appreciate the fact that we are given an opportunity to slow down a little bit, and appreciate what's really going on around you. Don't get scared. I mean, you can, but then you can step back and say, you know what? It's actually kind of a weird sort of bonus that I get to just slow down. We have been moving so fast. John Lennon, life is what happens when you're making other plans. We don't need to do that. This is our plan right now. We're going to wash our hands and stay safe, because every time you do that, you're potentially saving somebody else's life. New data, wear those masks. You could just wear something over your face, especially if you're going outside. Wear some cloth barrier or something over your face. And there are now site after site that you can make your own masks. If you're going to make your mask at home and you're with other people, make it an event.
Right.
Make it a social event to make as many masks as you can, not just for your family, but send them to those people who may not be able to make masks. Help other people, and you will feel a sense of accomplishment. And you'll actually feel a sense of gratitude that you're contributing to this, that you're helping other people in their time of need. I can tell you that as a physician, this is why I do this. It is the most remarkable honor and privilege to help other people in their time of need. And that's why physicians, healthcare workers are going out there to do it. This is what we train for. This is our world, but it's not exclusive to us. Everyone can do it. We can all help somebody other. And it's remarkable, remarkable. Just the sense of accomplishment and fulfillment that you will get. So enjoy it.
Can I give you a piece of practical advice I picked up this weekend?
Yeah.
Act like you have it and act like everybody else around you has it, and everybody will be a lot safer.
It's very true.
Very art of war. Go into battle assuming you'll die and you'll live.
It's so true. You know, and it's really weird because we have a shared enemy. And honestly, it's not the virus's fault. Viruses just doing what viruses do. It's their IM. It's not like this is some malicious thing that's come over to hurt us. It's just doing what it does. That's its IM. But I don't have to like it. And I'm going to do something to change it. And have a small change in my biological domain by washing my hands and wearing a mask, which is going to affect a small change in my home and social domain by keeping people safer. And that'll affect a small change in my IC domain because I will feel more valuable. Small changes have big effects. You control no one, you influence everyone. And now more than ever, you get to choose the kind of influence you want to be. Good?
Great.
Great.
Tom Hall, it's always a pleasure to have you, man. I really appreciate you, what you're doing, and the vast knowledge you have in that head helping us out with this anxiety that everybody's dealing with. I hope to see you again soon, and be well, be safe, stay strong, stay nimble, stay frosty.
Okay. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Tom. Thanks, Tom.
See you guys.
Thanks, Mark. Bye, guys.
Bye. No music outro?
Oh, I hear it.
It's there.
Turn it up. Thomas, we got to figure this out.
That's it.
See you guys.